I was on a business trip for a few days when I received a text from my wife's number. "Dear sir, I'm a salesperson at the car dealership. Seeing you this morning made my heart skip a beat. I was wondering if you'd be interested in getting to know me?" At first I thought it was just my wife playing a prank, so I didn't think much of it. But then, lying in bed, I shot up in the middle of the night. Wait a minute, who was she trying to seduce? Chapter 1. After returning home from my business trip, I carried my wife into the bedroom to get intimate. Just as I got her clothes off and was about to take the next step, I smelled cigarette smoke on her. I was sure my nose wasn't playing tricks on me, but I still couldn't believe it. I pressed my face against her body, sniffing carefully from head to toe. The smell of smoke was all over her. There was no mistaking it. Remembering the text message she'd sent me a few days ago, a furious anger surged through me. I almost blurted out and confronted her right then and there, but she was already worked up and burning with desire for my touch, her body pressing against mine. "Husband, come on, hurry up, hurry up." Like hell I would, my erection vanished in an instant. Seeing this, my wife immediately started yelling, "You're so useless, are you going to do it or not? You come back from a few days on the road and act like a dog in heat, not even letting me shower. Then when it counts, you go soft. I'd be better off with a dog." Seeing me remain motionless, she rolled off the bed and stomped into the bathroom, still cursing, to take a shower. I stared at the alluring curves of her back, my heart sinking to an icy low. This was the woman I had cherished for 5 years. My wife, Victoria Miller, was a salesperson at a car dealership. She was beautiful, with a voluptuous figure, and incredibly capable. Especially when she wore her professional attire, she exuded a mature charm that was both unique and captivating. I used to be proud of having such a stunning wife, but now, the image of her in that uniform just made me feel sick. As I was lost in thought, her phone on the bedside table lit up. My heart pounded with anxiety. While she was in the shower, I secretly picked it up. I had never checked her phone before, but I had always known her passcode. Her chat history was filled with conversations with clients, and aside from normal work talk, there was nothing out of the ordinary. This confused me. Had I overthought things and misunderstood her? But the smell on her body was something you couldn't get unless you were intimately involved. I remembered the text I received that night. Driven by curiosity, I opened her text message app. The moment I saw the contents, my limbs went numb, like I'd been plunged into an icy abyss. The text from that night had been sent to over a dozen people. Some hadn't replied, but others had. Among them, her conversation with a client named Mr. A was the most frequent and the filthiest. "Little vixen, the sounds you made today were so enchanting. Just thinking about them gets me hard again. When you were selling me the car, I only knew you had a skilled mouth. I didn't realize the one down below was even more talented. I've already booked the room for tomorrow. Don't let that husband of yours wear you out too much tonight." Every single message felt like a vicious slap across my face. I would have never imagined that the woman who appeared so poised and mature in public could be so slutty and promiscuous behind my back. I even started to wonder, was this Mr. A really the only one she was sleeping with? She was the company's top salesperson, with thousands of clients. Could it be that she used the same method, sleeping her way into a sale with every single one of them? The thought made it impossible for me to remain calm. I reached for a lighter to light a cigarette, only to remember I had quit smoking long ago. Slowly, I calmed myself down. I needed evidence. By the time Victoria came out of the bathroom, I had placed her phone back exactly where it was. She shot me a disdainful look, got into bed, and turned her back to me. I lay awake all night. Chapter 2. The next morning, I acted as if nothing was wrong and drove Victoria to work. Having slept poorly, my mind was still foggy, and I drove with a numb expression. Victoria sat beside me, engrossed in replying to messages on her phone. We didn't exchange a word. I used to think she was always on her phone because she was busy with work. Now I realized she was busy sexting her various clients and lovers. A wave of hatred washed over me. I gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. As we neared the dealership, her phone rang. I saw in the rearview mirror a flicker of guilt on her face. She glanced at me quickly, said nothing, and hung up. "Who was that? Why didn't you answer?" I asked, pretending not to know. She answered casually, "A scam call. There are so many of them these days. I have to drop off some documents for a client. You can just let me out here. Where are you going?" Do you need me to drive you? She rolled her eyes disdainfully. My clients are all rich and powerful. The clubs they frequent wouldn't even let your cheap little $20,000 car in the gate. Just drop me here, I'll get a cab. Instead of wasting time driving me, you should focus on your own job and figure out how to suck up to your boss for a promotion. And I'm telling you now, I'm not having kids if we don't have money. If your mother starts nagging, you just tell her you're the one who's infertile. With that, she got out of the car without a backward glance. To avoid tipping her off, I drove past the next intersection before making a U-turn, just in time to see her get into a luxury car. I followed it from a distance. The car pulled up in front of a hotel. Watching from afar, I soon saw Victoria get out, followed by a man. He was balding, wore a suit and tie, and had a potbelly that suggested too many business dinners. He had the air of a respectable man. What shocked me the most was his age. Victoria was 28. That old man looked to be at least in his 50s. It wasn't an exaggeration to say he was old enough to be her father. If Victoria hadn't affectionately linked her arm with his as they walked into the hotel, I might have assumed he was just a client, given the huge age gap. Who would have thought that? The ever-arrogant Victoria would be willing to lower herself for a man like that. I almost lost control and rushed in to catch them in the act, but reason held me back. If I stormed in now, she would just deny everything, and in a divorce she would still walk away with half of my assets. I couldn't spook her now. I had to get concrete evidence. I would make that old bastard and Victoria Miller pay for this. Chapter 3. After leaving, I didn't go straight to work. Instead, I called a friend, Dexter Jones. Dex was a childhood friend of mine. His family was very wealthy, and though he didn't have a real job, he had a lot of connections around town. I gave him the old man's phone number and asked him to look into it. Dex gave me a teasing look. "What's this? Your wife cheating on you, and you're using me as a private investigator?" My expression was grim, but I wasn't ashamed. I told him everything. He flew into a rage. "That damn old bastard, tell me which hotel. I'll bring a couple of guys over right now and catch them." I urged him to calm down. By the time he got there, they would likely be finished. "You catch a thief with the goods, and cheaters in the act," I said. Once I had solid proof, I would make sure that man spat out everything he'd taken, and then some. Dex nodded, patting his chest and promising to dig up everything on the old bastard so we could settle the score later. Seeing I was in a foul mood, he told me to skip work and dragged me out for a drink. We drank until we puked, and then drank some more, continuing late into the night. I purged all my negative emotions. When I got home, Victoria was already there. She asked curiously why I was so late and had had so much to drink. I told her the truth that I had been with Dex. She knew about my wealthy friend. I fabricated a story about my old family home being slated for demolition by developers. I told her Dex had connections, so I'd been drinking with him to see if he could get some inside information so we could prepare. "So, is the payout good?" At the mention of money, Victoria's eyes lit up instantly. "Based on the current market for our house, it should be a substantial amount." "Haha, great when we get the money. You have to buy me that bag, husband." "Of course." "How about that Hermes one you've had your eye on?" "Oh, husband, you're the best." Victoria's voice was sickeningly sweet. She threw herself at me and planted a kiss on my cheek. She still smelled of the hotel's shower gel, and the scent made my stomach turn. "You foolish idiot," I thought, still dreaming. "Forget a Hermes bag. I could promise you the stars right now without batting an eye. After all, anyone can write a blank check." The higher her hopes were now, the deeper her despair would be when the truth came out. I couldn't wait to see it. That night, Victoria fell asleep early, probably exhausted from her day. She was sleeping so soundly she was even snoring. How could she not be exhausted? She had been in a fierce battle in the sheets with that old man at the hotel, and the scent of that shower gel was still so strong on her when she got home. She must have had another round with him before coming back. Once I was sure she was asleep, I slipped out of bed, grabbed her phone from the nightstand, and tiptoed into the study. I backed up her entire phone to my computer. Although I was prepared for the worst, my limbs still went numb as I read through their chat logs, feeling as if I'd been plunged into an icy abyss. "The car has arrived, Mr. Ford. When would you like to come pick it up?" "You little slut, are you only thinking about your car sale? What about your late night snack?" "Oh, Mr. Ford, I miss you too. You're so amazing. You always make me feel so good. You're going to wear me out. Ha ha ha, you haven't seen the best of me yet. Next time, Big Brother will show you what real skill is." Oh, Mr. Ford, don't be in such a rush. You can unlock a new position when you buy another car. There were hundreds of messages, each one more lewd and shameless than the last. The chat history was also littered with explicit photos and videos of Victoria and the old bastard in countless different positions. I almost threw up. Blood rushed to my head, and my hands trembled uncontrollably. I wanted nothing more than to drag that worthless woman out of bed and confront her, but my rational mind forced me to stay calm. I told myself the time isn't right, not yet. I linked Victoria's phone to the cloud and took screenshots of every single message between the adulterous pair. It was deep into the night, and Victoria was fast asleep. But I lay in bed, unable to find any rest. I thought about her career. In the years since she started, she had shot up the company ladder like a rocket, going from a junior employee to the sales champion, a title she held year after year. I had always believed it was her dedication and hard work that brought her such success. I never imagined her hard work extended to hotel beds. So her long days and late nights weren't about work at all. They were about satisfying the lust of her clients. In all our years of marriage, I could honestly say I had given her my everything. Even though I was just an ordinary office worker, whenever she wanted a watch or a bag that cost thousands, I never blinked an eye. Damn it. While I was out there working my ass off, she was busy making a fool of me. I tossed and turned until 2 or 3 in the morning. My initial rage and confusion slowly subsided into a cold calm. My mind was made up. Since Victoria had crossed the line first, she couldn't blame me for retaliating. I was going to make her crawl out of my life in tears. Chapter 4. A couple of days later, I told Victoria about the demolition of my family home. According to my reliable source, a developer was buying up the old properties to build a new commercial complex. The compensation was straightforward, either a lump sum of about $1 million, or you could take $700,000 in cash plus a new apartment and a retail space. My wife's eyes gleamed and a huge smile spread across her face. Without hesitation, she chose the latter option. I put on a troubled expression. Actually, there's one issue. What is it? If we choose the cash and properties, we have to pay a portion of the property value as a deposit first. It'll be refunded to us later when everything is finalized. It's like an earnest money payment. How much do we need? $85,000. Victoria's face fell, and she grew quiet, lost in thought. I paused before continuing. It's not that much really, just 85 grand, but I can't come up with it right now. Is there any way you could cover it? I'll pay you back the second the compensation comes through. Victoria stared at me, seemingly trying to gauge my intentions. I can sign an IOU for the money, I added generously. And when the payout comes, not only will I buy you that bag, but I'll also buy another apartment in your name. We can have your parents move in with us so they can enjoy a better life. My feigned generosity dispelled her last shred of doubt. Her expression brightened immediately. Okay, I'll borrow the money from my parents. I sneered inwardly. When I married her, her parents had the gall to demand a $50,000 bride price, not including other gifts. I was blinded by love back then and paid it without a second thought. Her parents had claimed they wouldn't touch the money and would save it for our new family. In reality, they'd used it all to buy a car for their son. Victoria had been the company's sales champion for years, earning a hefty salary and commissions. Yet she still came to me for all her expenses. The money she earned was deposited into her parents' account, under the guise of letting them manage her finances. In truth, it was all to support her good-for-nothing brother. Over the years, Victoria had earned far more than $85,000, not to mention all the money they had managed to squeeze out of me under various pretexts. Despite all this, she often complained that I didn't earn enough, that I couldn't provide her with the life of a wealthy socialite with maids. Ha, a wealthy socialite. She could keep dreaming. Chapter 5. The next day, I made an excuse that I had to work overtime for 2 straight days and wouldn't be coming home at night. Victoria feigned concern for a few moments before quickly hanging up. Not long after, Dex, who was staked out near my apartment, called. Damn, bro, you're a psychic. She really went out on a date. I smirked. Of course she would. The previous night I had deliberately teased her in bed, getting her all hot and bothered until she was clinging to me. But right at the crucial moment, I pulled back, feigning disinterest. Why are you so dry? Then, ignoring her fury, I rolled over and pretended to fall asleep. The fire I'd lit in her last night had to be put out by someone. Her phone was synced to my cloud account. Last night I saw her messaging Warren Ford's son, Quentin. They had arranged to meet at a hotel this afternoon. Quentin had already booked the room and sent her the room number. I chuckled coldly. I took the photo Dex had sent me a shot of Victoria and a man entering the hotel from behind and sent it from an anonymous number to Warren Ford. I also sent a few texts, just in case he missed the first one. Old bastard, Victoria is with me now. I suggest you stop bothering her. Have some self-respect, and maybe she'll still think of you with some dignity, you impotent creep. Can't even satisfy a woman. Vicky told me she was just faking it with you. She said you're as thin as a toothpick and can't last 2 minutes. Vicky says I'm her true love, that only I can satisfy her. What's the point of being so clingy? If your dirty secrets get out, you're the one who'll be embarrassed. Sure enough, a few moments after I sent the messages, my phone rang with his number. Of course, I didn't answer. I just hung up. Immediately, a barrage of texts came through. Who the hell are you, you shameless pretty boy? That stinking bitch Victoria has some nerve. That whore for the masses thinks she's hot stuff, huh? Does she not know what a worthless piece of trash she is? Give me your address, I dare you. See if I don't come over there and beat you to death. I quickly replied, the Grand Royale Hotel, room 403. Come and get me if you've got the guts. I'd love to see how you're going to beat me to death, you impotent old bastard. I then turned off the screen and tossed the phone aside. Excellent. I had successfully enraged old man Ford. Victoria wasn't going to have a good day. And what's a good show without an audience? I went and invited Victoria's entire family over. When her parents heard I needed to borrow a large sum of money and was willing to sign an IOU, they brought a whole crowd of her aunts and uncles to act as witnesses. I took them all to the Grand Royale Hotel. I booked 7 rooms on the same floor as room 403. It didn't matter, the more audience members, the more applause. Before I had even settled all the relatives, my father-in-law, Harold, eagerly pulled me aside to write the IOU, grinning from ear to ear. Son-in-law, I always knew you were a promising young man. My Vicky is a college graduate, and so beautiful. You have no idea how many men were lining up to marry her. There was this one nouveau riche guy, drove a fancy car, wore a big gold chain. I'm the one who convinced her mother. That guy was a brute, always getting into fights. Not like you, an educated, civilized man. I knew I hadn't misjudged you. I nodded along, my eyes filled with scorn. Honestly, a brute like that was probably exactly what Victoria deserved. Someone who would beat her until she couldn't move. Then we'd see if she still had the energy to cheat. Son-in-law, he continued, I hear you're planning to buy Vicky a house. Now, I'm not one to meddle, but what does a married woman need with so many houses? Why not give it to our Brandon? You know how girls are these days, so materialistic. They need a car, a house, all that stuff for marriage. As his brother-in-law, you should help him out a bit, right? The old man's scheming was so obvious it was practically slapping me in the face. I was supposed to spend my money on a house and just hand it over to his son for free? Why? I wasn't his father. I never realized this family could be so shamelessly thick-skinned, asking for a house so openly. Sure, I said. As soon as the compensation comes through, we can buy a house for Brandon. Harold Miller froze, staring at me as if I were a stranger, a prize-winning fool ripe for the picking. He clapped me on the shoulder, and he and the other relatives began showering me with compliments. Meanwhile, Brandon Miller was completely absorbed in his video game, looking utterly unconcerned, without so much as a word of thanks. Just as everyone was in high spirits, Dex sent me a text. The fish has taken the bait. A moment later, a loud commotion erupted in the hallway. Routine inspection opened the door. Don't waste our time hearing the noise. I pretended to be surprised and stepped out of the room. The others followed close behind. With a click, the door to 403 opened. A hefty older man quickly stormed in with several people. Immediately, we heard a woman's scream and a man's curses from inside. Everyone loves drama, especially drama this juicy. A crowd of aunts and uncles immediately surrounded the doorway. I smirked inwardly and moved closer to the action. Peeking through the crowd, I saw Victoria, her hair a mess, clutching a blanket around her body. She was being held by 2 large men in black, her face stained with tears and marked by a red handprint. The hefty man was relentlessly slapping another man, who was completely naked. Dad, I'm sorry it was this woman. She seduced me. I didn't know she was your woman too, Quentin cried. You bastard, Warren roared. You're about to get married. The Vances are our biggest investors, and Scarlett Vance is not a woman who tolerates nonsense. If she finds out about this, do you have any idea how much our family will lose? Dad, Scarlett is built like Mom. There's no fun in touching her. I don't want to marry her." The son had barely finished his sentence when his father slapped him again. "You worthless punk, you'll marry Scarlett even if she's fatter. Her family has money, and they can help ours. Once you have money, you can sleep with as many whores like Victoria as you want." As he spoke, the old man shot a venomous glare at Victoria. Victoria, both shamed and panicked, purred at the old man in a sickeningly sweet voice. "Mr. Ford, he's your own son. There's no need to be so harsh. If you don't mind, why don't the three of us have some fun together today?" Upon hearing this, young Quentin immediately got up and sidled next to his father. "Dad, this woman's not bad. You've slept with her before. So why don't we both have a go at her? Let's screw this slutty broad to death." Someone in the crowd gasped, and only then did the people in the room notice us onlookers. Victoria in particular saw us, and her eyes widened in horror. "Who the hell are you people? What are you doing here? Get the hell out, Quentin." "Still naked," was the first to shout. Before I could make a move, several figures pushed through the crowd. Before we could react, a few burly men swiftly restrained the naked Quentin and the glowering Warren Ford. "Damn it! Who are you? Do you know who I am? How dare you treat me like this? I'll have you." Quentin's threats were cut short by a punch to the jaw that sent him sprawling to the floor. "You bastard, cheating on my sister, are you?" one of the men yelled, pummeling the downed Quentin. Quentin was powerless to fight back, only able to groan in pain. Next, with a woman's shriek, the blanket wrapped around Victoria was ripped away, exposing her naked body. Two hefty women tore the blanket off. One slapped her face while the other pulled her hair, both kicking and punching her. "You stinking bitch, daring to seduce my husband and my son, you worthless little slut. I'm going to kill you today." Meanwhile, the elder Mr. Ford was forced to his knees, begging for mercy. The scene descended into utter chaos. I watched the drama I had directed unfold, a cold smile on my face. Chapter 7. On the way to the hotel with Victoria's parents and relatives, I had compiled all the chat logs and explicit photos of Warren Ford and Victoria. I sent them anonymously via text to his wife, Brenda, and his soon-to-be daughter-in-law, Scarlett. I also helpfully included the room number. As expected, they did not disappoint me. "Oh my," exclaimed the aunts and uncles behind me. "I remember Vicky used to be such an honest and decent girl. How did she start sleeping around after getting married?" "Decent? Didn't you hear what she just said? She wanted both the father and son to have a go at her. How could she be so shameless? She hid it so well. We never knew she was a whore behind our backs." "Exactly. I was always wondering how the Miller family could afford to eat and drink so well without anyone working. Turns out it was blood money their daughter earned as a prostitute. If my daughter brought such shame on us, I'd have strangled her myself." The truth was, the moment I'd agreed to buy Brandon a house, the relatives were already overflowing with jealousy. Naturally, they wouldn't miss this chance to kick her while she was down. "That's human nature for you," Victoria screamed in pain, completely helpless against the two middle-aged women who were each twice her size. At this point, no matter how ashamed Victoria's parents felt, they had no choice but to step in and protect their daughter. Perhaps emboldened by her parents' presence, or perhaps driven to fury by the beating, Victoria decided to throw all caution to the wind. "Fine, you old sow. Let's get everything out in the open today. Not only did I sleep with your husband, I slept with your son too. They both said the sight of you makes them want to puke. Why don't you take a look in the mirror? Your men certainly enjoy themselves with me." Her words left everyone in the room stunned. Victoria's triumphant moment was short-lived. Her father slapped her so hard she flew from the bed to the floor. "Look what you've said. How can you be so shameless? Your brother's new house is gone, all because of your whorish behavior. Why did I ever have a piece of trash like you? Your mother and I fed you, clothed you, and this is how you repay us? You worthless thing, you let a sure thing slip right through our fingers. I'll teach you to cheat. I'll teach you." Victoria's father rained slaps on her, left and right, making her already scratched-up face even more swollen. If this had been the past, I would have been heartbroken, desperate to protect her. But now, looking at her, I felt not a shred of pity. After watching the show for so long, it was time for me to get my own revenge. I summoned my anger, walked up to Warren Ford, and before he could react, I punched him again and again. Dex and the guys he'd brought, who had been watching from the crowd, rushed forward to restrain Warren's wife and her entourage. I'd been holding in that punch for too long, and the old bastard was caught off guard. He started bleeding quickly, The people around weren't stupid. They had figured out who I was. So as I landed punch after punch, no one tried to stop me. When I felt I'd done enough, I let go of Warren Ford and stared menacingly at Victoria. I gave you my heart, and you deceived me for so long. He's old enough to be your father. You make me sick. A divorce. We're getting a divorce. You cheated, you betrayed me. You're the at-fault party. You won't be taking the house or the car. By now, Victoria was a bruised and bloody mess from her father's beating. Hearing my demand for a divorce, her father immediately put on a fawning smile. Son-in-law, you can't get divorced over a little thing like this. Vicky has been married to you for years. She's worked hard for this family. You can't do something so heartless, I sneered internally. This family's talent for twisting the truth was simply astounding. Victoria Miller, I said, if you agree to a divorce now, I'll go easy on you and won't make things too ugly. Chapter 8. Perhaps stunned by my words, Victoria opened her mouth but said nothing. Her father, however, was not satisfied. Son-in-law, you're wrong to say that. This isn't entirely our Vicky's fault. If you couldn't satisfy her, I don't think she would have gone looking for it elsewhere. We will not agree to this divorce. And don't you dare go back on your promise to buy our family a house. If you insist on a divorce, then you'll give Vicky the house you live in now as compensation for the years of her youth you've wasted. And the house for our Brandon, you have to give us that too. A house? In your dreams. There was no demolition, no compensation. I made the whole thing up to screw with you, and you fell for it. You have no one to blame but your own greed. There are plenty of witnesses here. Victoria's infidelity is a fact. Legally, the at-fault party in a divorce leaves with nothing. If this goes to court, not only will I make sure Victoria leaves with nothing, but her earnings from all these years are considered marital property. I have the right to half of it. I imagine her commissions over the years add up to quite a bit. As for your son's house, he's no longer related to me. Why should I pay for him? It's not like his parents are dead, and even if they were, it's not my responsibility as a stranger to buy him a house. Hearing this, her father's face contorted with rage. We won't agree, so you can forget about a divorce. We'll drag this out for the rest of our lives. We have nothing to lose. Let's see who can outlast whom. I laughed coldly. Old man, this is a society of laws. I don't need your agreement. I only need the courts. Today, I will pack up all of Victoria's things and throw them out. If you are shameless enough to come to my home and harass me, I can call the police and have you arrested. And once you have a criminal record, don't say I didn't warn you. Your son will never find a wife. No woman wants to marry into a family with a criminal record. It affects the next generation. At this, her father's arrogant demeanor faltered. Her mother, driven mad with anger, started slapping Victoria's naked body again and again. You could have just cheated, but you had to get caught in the act. Who can save you now? You have no shame, but why did you have to drag Brandon down with you? The promised house is gone. Everything is gone with that. Victoria's mother collapsed to the floor, wailing. Victoria, her face ashen, turned to me. Oblivious to her own nudity, she lunged forward and grabbed my hand, her voice pleading. Husband, I was wrong. Please forgive me, okay? It was those disgusting men. They threatened me. They said if I didn't sleep with them, they wouldn't buy my cars. If I didn't do what they said, they would have had me fired. Everything I did, all the sacrifices I made, it was to earn money for our family. It was all for you, for me? You sent out seductive texts in the middle of the night for me. You slept with the father in the morning and the son in the afternoon, reeking of smoke for me. I looked at her, my face a mask of indifference. Victoria, in all these years you've never respected me. You haven't spent a single penny of your earnings on our home or on me. And now you're telling me everything you did was for me? Do I look that easy to fool? I yanked my hand away from her grasp. From this moment on, you and I are finished. I advise you to be smart and agree to the divorce quietly. For the sake of our past years together, I won't ask for any of the money or things I gave you back. But if you dare to fight me on this, I have no problem escalating things and letting everyone admire your exquisite body. Chapter 9. Victoria collapsed onto the floor, her eyes vacant and filled with confusion. Husband, are you really going to be this cruel? You won't leave me any way out? All these years, even if you'd hired a prostitute, it wouldn't have cost this little. I never imagined Victoria would compare our years of marriage to hiring a prostitute. I stared at her coldly, as if she were a complete stranger. You chose this path. I have been more than fair. I have proof of your sexting. If you were to die, I would still post it all online for everyone to see. With that, I turned and walked out of the room with Dex and his crew, leaving Victoria's miserable screams behind me. How could you do that to me? You can't do that, you can't. Her cries didn't stir a single emotion in me. You were merciless to me, so why should I be merciful to you? When she cheated so brazenly, lying to me again and again, when I offered her my whole heart only for her to toss it aside like trash, where did that leave me? It was too late for regrets. Once, she was the princess I placed on a pedestal, cherished and adored. But perhaps because that love came too easily, she saw it as cheap and unworthy of her, finding fault in everything. When people are put on a pedestal, they tend to forget who they are. She seemed to have forgotten that before she met me, she was just the unwanted daughter in a family that favored its son, forced to do manual labor and have her marriage planned out for financial gain. Just because she had some looks, she thought she could climb the social ladder, even if it meant selling her own body. She never considered that there are countless beautiful women in the world. Once beauty becomes a transaction, what happens when men have had their fill of it? You're tossed aside like trash, becoming nothing more than a plaything for men and a pawn in their games of power and fortune. Given her background, a mooching brother, and a pair of blood-sucking parents, I doubt she will ever find another man who will devote himself to her as I did. As soon as the mandatory divorce cooling-off period was over, I officially got my divorce papers. 6 months later, my parents started setting me up on dates. This time, I wasn't in a hurry. I only had one requirement for a future wife. She had to be a good person. I next heard news of Victoria from Dex while we were gaming. Warren Ford's wife Brenda is no pushover. She raised hell at Victoria's dealership and got her fired. Apparently, Victoria's parents now think she's useless and a disgrace. They kicked her out and won't let her come home. They're trying to marry her off to old lame leg who runs the corner store in their village. Now Victoria's asking everyone to set her up with a high-quality man. The standards are ridiculously high, of course. He has to make at least $1 million a year. She should take a good look at herself in a puddle of her own piss. $1 million a year? Is she worthy? Guys making that kind of money are at least in their 40s. She really does have a thing for old men. The way she was all over that old bastard that day, whispering all that filthy stuff, it was disgusting. I just listened and gave a sarcastic smile, saying nothing. Dex continued on his own. Warren Ford, that old bastard, didn't get off easy either. His son's marriage is off, obviously. The Vance family not only pulled their investments but are actively crushing his business. Warren's wife divorced him immediately and kicked out the son too. Warren himself was blacklisted in the industry by his father-in-law. Since he was just some country boy who married into money, he had no choice but to go back to farming. I heard he tried to find Victoria, but she ignored him, and they ended up in another huge fight. Anyway, for some crazy reason, the Vances have now approached my dad about a marriage alliance with our family. They even offered to invest in us, like my family needs their chump change. Just thinking about how fierce Scarlett Vance was that day gives me the creeps. Why the hell is she after me now? I smiled, my interest in the game fading. I stood up to leave. What? Not one more round? Nah, I have a girlfriend now. She has a 2-hour limit on my gaming. Whoa, bro, you got a girlfriend and didn't even tell me? Not cool. When are you gonna bring her out so we can all have dinner? I clapped him on the shoulder and smiled. Show some respect. She might be your sister-in-law one day. And you're not getting any younger. I think Scarlett Vance is pretty great. She seems stable. A wife like that would be grounding. You have fun. I'm heading out. Dex yelped in protest behind me. I walked out of the internet cafe with a smile, looked up at the sky and thought, it's about time the sun came out. The end.